Magneto is easily one of the best Marvel villains, if not the best villain, and just so happens to be one of my favorite characters in these comics, so it was only a matter of time before this video was made. He was born in the late 1920s, which makes sense after you find out that X-Men came out in the 1960s. And of course, this name is just an epithet. His real name is Max Eisenhardt. His parents were Jacob and Eddie Eisenhardt. He also had a sister named Ruth. His father Jacob was a decorated World War I veteran, but very little is written about his mother. They were a Jewish family living in Nazi Germany. If you know anything about history, then you probably know where this story is heading. Max's uncle and his father's brother, Eric Eisenhardt, who lived with them, tried to warn them to leave the country when tension was rising, but they stayed a little longer than they should have. Eventually they did flee to Poland, but things weren't that much better for Jews there. Eric was pretty rebellious and would smuggle food and supplies whenever he could. He knew about the Jews getting gassed and gave his family a heads up to escape in time, while he stayed back to fight the Nazis. There isn't any info on Eric after this point, so he's presumed to be killed. The rest of the Eisenhardts would be captured, however, and shot down. All but Max were executed. They were all buried in a mass grave, including the alive Max. He would escape, only to be captured again and sent to Auschwitz, the infamous concentration camp in Poland. Here, Max would come across a girl named Magda, the same girl he fell in love with when he was younger. Together they escaped Auschwitz, and soon the war came to an end, so they were safe from the Nazis. They moved to Ukraine, and Max would refer to himself as Magnus. The now wed couple would have a daughter named Anya. She was named after Magda's mother. Magnus's powers began to manifest, and when the people in the area soon found out, they were afraid of the mutant. A mob decided to burn down the place they were staying in, but it would only be Anya to die from this attack at a young age. The mob prevented Magnus from entering the fire to save his daughter, and this fully unleashed his powers. He's definitely up there with some of the most powerful mutants in this world. His ability to control electromagnetism allows him to do a wide variety of things. Telekinetically controlling metals is only one aspect of his powers. His high intellect has led him to figure out to do things like fly around, create force fields, even mess with the iron in people's blood. Everyone standing in his way of his daughter Anya was killed, and a large part of the Ukrainian city was destroyed. This is one of the most defining moments in Magneto's future character. Magna, horrified of what she just witnessed, hysterically ran away from Magnus. What he didn't know was Magda was actually pregnant with their twins. She ran off to a fictional country in Eastern Europe to hide from her husband. An intelligent human-like cow named Bova, who was experimented on to be a caretaker, delivered the twins. Yeah, the comics can get a little weird at times, but Magna didn't stick around for them, still fearing Magnus. They were named Pietro and Wanda Maximov, the last name they got from their foster parents. Magnus was now a wanted man for the death and destruction his attack caused, so he would have another name change. He would now be known as Eric Leiner. He was able to track them down to Bova, but by this time Magna ran off in the midst of a blizzard, where she would disappear for good and presumably died. Eric would interrogate and torture Bova for information by using his powers to send blood to her brain, causing a stroke that would paralyze her. He wouldn't help raise the children or anything, but would spend time with them when they were older and powerful mutants. At a young age, the twins' village was set on fire, causing them to run away and wander Europe. Wanda once used her powers to save a child, which caused people to find out she was a mutant. An angry mob would go after them, and this is where Eric enters their life to save them. They didn't know who he was, he only presented himself as Magneto, the leader of the Brotherhood of Mutants, a violent group serving the best interests of mutants and attacking humans who are prejudiced against their kind. They join him without realizing he's their father. Pietro would be known as Quicksilver and having super speed abilities. Wanda would be Scarlet Witch, and her powers are a bit more complicated. The X-Men have been around forever and have had multiple writers involved over the years, with their own take on what she can do. At times, she's a magic user, in others, her abilities have to do with causing unlikely events, and her most impressive feat has to be her reality warping. They are prominent characters in both the X-Men and Avengers franchise, and have fought as villains and heroes at times. The recent comic book movie craze in Hollywood has really confused this family tree for viewers. In the recent X-Men movies under Fox, Magneto's son is Peter Maximov, an American with two unnamed sisters.
Where's your brother?
Go upstairs and bug your sister.
But she bugs me.
You guys won. I didn't do anything. I've been here all day. Just relax, Peter. We're not cops.
He has the same powers and everything, just a slightly different backstory. Under Disney's Avengers, Pietro and Wanda have the same powers, but there is no Magneto in this universe.
The twins. Sooner or later, they will meet the twins.
And things will probably only get more confusing in the future, now that Disney bought out Fox and owned the copyrights for the X-Men characters. But yeah, as X-Men Days of Future Past hinted at, Magneto has one other daughter. She doesn't have the same mother as the twins, however. Magneto had an affair with a married woman named Susanna Dane, and together had a daughter named Lorna Dane. When Susanna's husband, Arnold Dane, confronted his wife about this on a flight, their heated argument made the young Lorna manifest her powers and destroy the entire plane. She was a mutant with the same magnetic powers as her father. Her attack killed both of her parents, while she managed to survive. Magneto was able to sense the attack with his powers and went to his daughter. He gave Lorna to Arnold Dane's sister and her husband to raise her. She would grow up to be a major X-Men character with the name Polaris. She has at times allied herself with her father, but hasn't had a lot of interactions with her half-twin siblings. While usually fighting for the good side, at times she isn't the most mentally stable character. A villain who has made some brief appearances in the X-Men comics is a character named Aladeen. She's Lorna's half-sister, born without any powers. It seems like Susanna and Arnold were her parents, considering her name to be Dane, and the fact that she's Lorna's half-sister, unrelated to Magneto. But it's not clear who raised her since the Danes were dead. She had dedicated herself to obtaining superhuman abilities out of jealousy of her powerful sister. She does become a magic user, which is a thing in this series. Her story ends with Magneto killing her by reversing her blood flow after trying to steal his and Polaris' powers. Things get a lot crazier when entering the next generation. Quicksilver married the princess of the Inhuman royal family, Crystal. However, the marriage wouldn't last. She's a powerful hero who can control the natural elements, earth, fire, water, and air, so she's basically the Avatar. They were the first ever mutant and inhuman couple to have a child. They named her Luna since she was born on the moon. I told you, this generation gets a little weird. She was born without powers, which bothered Quicksilver. He decided to expose her to the Inhumans' Terrigen Mist, which activates their powers, but can deform a person without the right genes. Things worked out for Luna, and she was gifted with the powers to see and alter emotions, although she did form an addiction to the Terrigen Mist, since it strengthens Inhumans. We see Wanda's and Vision's relationship form in the Avengers movies.
Is that paprikash?
I thought it might lift your spirits.
Spirits lifted.
But in the comics, they get married and have twin sons, which is complicated considering Vision is sort of a robot. Wanda would somehow get pregnant with twins. This is explained by Wanda using her powers to create the children inside of her, because it isn't like Vision can get the job done. It's later revealed that magic on its own isn't enough to create life. The twins had parts of the demon Mephisto inside them. Her twins, William and Thomas, wouldn't live long before being absorbed back into Mephisto, where their life originated from. This tragedy would alter Wanda's personality for good. Later on, two teenagers named Billy and Tommy approach Wanda, claiming to be her sons reincarnated. Their story checks out, and both of the long-lost twins are mutants fighting for the Young Avengers. Billy, short for William, has inherited his mother's overpowered abilities to warp reality and use spells. He goes by the moniker Wiccan. Tommy, short for Thomas, is almost identical to Quicksilver. They look similar, with the whole white hair and all, and even have the same super speed powers. Not only that, but Tommy is a troublemaker, just like his uncle. He simply goes by the name Speed. In an alternate universe, Wanda actually has a child with the X-Men Nightcrawler, so she clearly has a thing for bright-colored monsters. Their daughter, Talia Wagner, grows up to also fight for the X-Men under the name Nocturne. She has the physical appearance of her father, but with some unique powers of her own. She can enter someone's body and control it, while also being able to shoot out energy blasts. She becomes part of a team that jumps between alternate universes. There's also a couple other beings, directly created from Magneto, that are not his children. His DNA was once used by one of his former underlings to create a clone of him. He would be known as Joseph, and was created to kill Magneto. Joseph had all the same powers of his originator, just dialed up even higher. But he would actually become an X-Men fighting for the side of good before he died. Going in an even weirder direction, a being called Onslaught was created when Magneto's and Professor X's consciousness clashed. This thing is pure evil and extremely powerful. Onslaught usually stays dormant within the professor, but has had a physical form of his own. With all the name changes and mystery parents going on in this family tree, it was a little difficult to name the video, while it's pretty common to call them the Magnus family. Magneto's family tree is a far better title. Thanks for watching, guys.